So, as promised, I wanted to talk about one of the Pennhurst success stories that I have found. Um, I was tasked by a friend named Denise to look for a uncle of hers named, or cousin, uncle, that type of thing, Mackie Rice. In searching, she had told me that Mackie was at Pennhurst with his sister Anna. So I was able to find as much information about both of them being at Pennhurst, and his sister's story isn't as nice as his. Mackie was able to be buried back at home with his family. We're still looking for full records and finding out what's going on, but she knew him, so he came back home at one point. But Anna didn't. Anna died in 1938 after being in Pennhurst for almost 8 years. She possibly longer at some point from 1920 to 1930 census records, she was moved to Pennhurst by her family. 1910 and 1920 census records say that she was in Salisbury with her family. So she was here in Lycoming County during that time, but moved between 1920 and 1930 to Pennhurst. And she was listed as an inmate at Pennhurst. And she was an inmate during her death. So Anna, I don't have any stories of her. I haven't heard of any stories. No one's able to tell her story. But she does have a little blurb out on the Pennhurst Memorial site to honor her. Her body was not claimed. She is the unclaimed person I told you about in the unclaimed cadavers. She was unclaimed according to her records, and in the cadaver register, she was transferred to Jefferson Memorial Teaching School in Philadelphia. And I did contact their records because most schools keep historical records of at least their facility and other areas. I know that Clarion University has a collection of older books. I've seen them. I've touched them. I've spent lots of time in that library as well. So I know that every college has some sort of older records. So I contacted Jefferson directly, thinking that they would have them. Now, they do keep them for a certain point. During that particular time period, because they received so many, they destroyed them. They can't locate them. They're not anywhere. What they did tell us is their standard answer. If a cadaver is not located with family upon their use, they are put into pauper cemeteries. And we do not know which one Anna has been put into because she was not returned home. She is listed. She has a cadaver number in the Pennsylvania State Archives, and hers does not list that she was returned to family. So we know that she did not return home. There is no burial for her. There's no memorial. There's nothing for her. She was put into a pauper's field, and she was forgotten about until we started finding information about her. And it's amazing to hear these stories because she's not the only one. There are hundreds of pages of cadaver records that I'm still going through and working on trying to find people, finding their death information, their death certificates, to find out where they are. Now, Anna's death certificate shows that she was donated to science, so luckily we have that record to follow. There are instances inside the cadaver records from Pennhurst and other asylums and facilities and institutions that do tell that their family did come get them. They have their cadaver number, and then at the end there's a notation that says return to family. Sometimes they have information of who picked them up, but most times they don't. And Anna is one of those stories that I feel I need to tell, because if we don't tell her story, she'll be forgotten, and she'll be one of those children who are forgotten at Pennhurst and other facilities. So it is our job to tell those stories. And I am still looking for Mackie's information. to find out when he was officially released from Pennhurst. As many know, Pennhurst's records are horrific. They didn't really keep record back then until everything was taken care of. I won't tell Pennhurst's story because that is for another tale. I don't like talking about Pennhurst. It pulls at my heartstrings. But Anna's story had to be told, and Mackie's will be told once we finish. I can tell you that he is home. 1950 census records comes out here this year, so I will check to see if he is still in Pennhurst at that point. But I can tell you that Anna is somewhere in Philadelphia, and that's where she is. So we will be talking about a memorial for her, among with other local institution family members of Pennhurst and around the area, so that way we can keep track of them as we find them, because at this point in time, I have quite a few lists on there of I don't know where they went and I can't find them yet. So I will find them. We will figure out where they are, and those who don't have a place will have one. They'll have a cenotaph.